I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:01. Public comments, we have public comments? Roll call, we'll start with roll call.
Yes, roll call.
Alda Benavides, present.
Anthony Uresti, present.
Esmeralda Solis, present.
Nereida Cantu, present.
Mary Hernandez, present.
Alex Cantu, present. I do declare a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone.
Moving on to item number 4, public comments. We have
a public comment from Mr. Lupe Chavez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chavez. You have 3 minutes to speak. At no time are we allowed to interrupt. Mr. Munoz will keep time for the 3 minutes.
Thank you. Buenas tardes, ¿cómo están? Buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva y superintendente de escuelas, Dr. Sainz. Mi nombre es Lupe Chávez y hoy estoy aquí para presentarles una organización comunitaria de padres llamada Padres Abogando por sus Hijos. La declaración de misión de esta organización es brindar a los padres el conocimiento y las herramientas para apoyar mejor a sus hijos desde el preescolar hasta la escuela preparatoria y más allá. Como primeros maestros y defensores de un niño, los padres y tutores deben defender y apoyar el crecimiento académico, social y emocional de sus hijos hasta tan pronto como ingresen a la vía educativa. El objetivo de esta organización es ayudar a los padres a aprender sobre derechos y responsabilidades como padre, aprender más sobre lo que está pasando en la escuela del estudiante, obtener más información sobre cómo monitorear y ayudar a su estudiante en casa, adquirir habilidades para abogar por sus hijos en la escuela, enseñar a los padres cómo movilizarse y hacer preguntas, expresar ideas, comentarios y inquietudes, aprender sobre los recursos que tienen un impacto directivo en los objetivos y resultados de instrucción y encontrar ayuda y recursos adicionales. Hasta ahorita, Padres Abogando por sus Hijos tiene aproximadamente 120 padres, mientras las cifras siguen creciendo. Esta organización trabajará en asociación con una amplia gama de personas, organizaciones y funcionarios estatales para ampliar y mejorar nuestra capacidad de servir y defender a todos los niños. Padres Abogando por sus Hijos valorará las contribuciones individuales de los miembros voluntarios y todas las asociaciones mientras trabajamos en colaboración para tener un impacto colectivo con el éxito de los estudiantes. Esta organización buscará asociaciones de colaboración con líderes empresariales y comunitarios, instituciones de educación superior y, lo más importante, con el Distrito Escolar de La Joya. Padres Abogando por sus Hijos quisiera extender una cálida invitación a todos ustedes y también a cualquiera que tenga hijos en el Distrito Escolar de La Joya para que puedan aprender más sobre nuestra declaración de misión y propósito. Esta organización espera sus contribuciones de tiempo y esfuerzo para que todos nosotros colectivamente podamos abogar por el éxito de los niños en nuestra comunidad. En los próximos días estaré enviando más información sobre esta organización a la señora Herrera para que ella se la pase a todos ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Moving on to item 5, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu. The first item on the superintendent's report is the enrollment report. The enrollment report is dated November 30th, 2022. On this date, we had 11,685 elementary students, 13,237 secondary students, for a total of 24,922 students which is 500 students more than on this date last year. For the next recognition item, if I could have Mr. Cantu, School Board President, and Mr. Anthony Uresti, School Board Vice President, step up to the front to do the recognition. And it is recognition of Alexa Peña, 10th grade student from Thelma R. Salinas STEM Early College High School, as the winner of the La Jolla ISD 2022 Holiday Greeting Card Art Contest.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. La Jolla ISD sought out the young talent to design artwork for our school district official 2022 holiday greeting card to be published on December 2022. The superintendent invited all La Jolla ISD school district students to enter the holiday greeting card art contest by creating their own original artwork, which was posted on the district Facebook page and voted by their own followers. We would like to recognize Alexa Peña.
Congratulations, Alexa, and are her parents or family members in the audience? If you are, please stand so that we can recognize you too. Congratulations. And we're displaying Alexa's beautiful work, which is our holiday greeting card. Thank you, Alexa.
Her principal, Dr. Science.
Her principal, please join us for the picture. Her principal is Mr. Victor Rodriguez. Congratulations, Mr. Rodriguez.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu and Mr. Uresti. And for the next recognition, if I could have Dr. Cantu, Dr. Zamora, and Ms. Esmeralda Solis join us at the front. Recognition of high school principals who met or exceeded District House Bill 3, College, Career, and Military Readiness 2022 goals.
Good evening, Mr. Board President, Mr. Alex Cantu, Madam Superintendent, Dr. Science, ladies and gentlemen of our board and our community. This afternoon, we will be recognizing the high school principals that met or exceeded our board outcome goals for CCMR during the 21-22 school year. CCMR, or rather College, Career, and Military Readiness goals, are indicators that the state of Texas uses to assess whether high school graduates are college, career, or military ready. As a board, the adopted goal for our graduating cohort of students was to be at least 80% CCMR ready. As a district, for the 21-22 school year, we are at 92%, which factors into our 22-23 accountability measures. So we are very proud to present Mr. Antonio Cano from La Jolla High School, who had 95% of the students meet their CCMR indicator goal. Principal Ricardo Estrada from Juarez Lincoln High School had 94% of his graduates earn a CCMR indicator. Leonel Perez, principal at Palmview High School, had 93% of his graduates earn a CCMR indicator. Principal at Jimmy Carter Early College High School, Mrs. Claudia Gomez Perez, had 100% of her students graduate with an indicator. Principal Victor Rodriguez from STEM Early College had 99% of his annual graduates graduate with a CMR indicator. La Jolla Early College High School Principal, Mr. Domingo Villarreal, had 100% of his graduates with an indicator. Principal, Mrs. Leanne Alanis Herrera from Academy of Health Science Professions had 99% of her graduates earn a CCMR indicator. And not present this evening is Principal Antonia Sanchez from our La Jolla West Academy, who had 98% of the students from that academy graduate with an indicator. We thank our board, our community, all of our staff members for your continued support in achieving these measures and goals. Thank you all.
Congratulations, principals, and thank you for all your work. For our next recognition, if I could have Ms. Mary Hernandez and Dr. Benavides, please step forward. Recognition of Jimmy Carter Early College High School for receiving the 2022 Best High Schools in Texas Award from niche.com.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Board President Alex Cantu, Madam Superintendent, Dr. Science, ladies and gentlemen of the board and community. This afternoon, we're going to be recognizing the principal and the counselor at Jimmy Carter Early College High School for being recognized as one of the top schools in the state of Texas by niche.com. Now, niche.com is an online website that analyzes school and district data to create in-depth profiles of every school in America. Families across the nation use their reviews and ratings to find and enroll their children in the best schools. Through advanced algorithms and statistical techniques, Carter Early College High School was identified as one of the best high schools in the state of Texas. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing Ms. Claudia Gomez Perez and Ms. Ana Salinas for the great work that they're doing at Jimmy Carter Early College High School.
Mr. President, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Moving on to item 6, discussion items. It's a discussion of second 6 weeks performance data.
Good evening, Mr. Board President Alex Cantu, Board of Trustees, Dr. Science, Administration, La Jolla LJISD community. Today we'll be sharing with you the 22-23 second 6 weeks STAR grades 3 to 8 and end of course performance data. Within your binder you should have gotten a packet of that second 6 weeks performance data. So before we present and share the data with you, we do want to preface the presentation by saying that as a result of House Bill 3906, the STAR assessments are currently going through a redesign phase. So in response to the redesign, our content coordinators have embedded the new item types into the 6 weeks assessment in an effort to provide to students formative and summative opportunities for advance, right? Opportunities for them to practice. The results that will be presented to you this afternoon or this evening are a reflection of a more rigorous assessment, right? That is, so if we're comparing to last year's performance data, it would be very different. So in the following slides, you will note that the second 6 weeks data has been aggregated first by grade levels and content and subjects, and then we will be reviewing the campus performance in those subject areas. So in the area of third grade reading, our top performing grade level was our fifth grade students who performed at a 76% approaches, 49% meets, and 30% masters. Now, one thing to consider when we review this slide is that this slide is also giving us it's a reflection of how we are doing when it comes to our HB3 literacy goal. For this school year, our goal is for our third grade students to perform at a 47% mastery. And as of the second 6 weeks, we are already at 35%. Right? That is up from 23% that we had at the end of the first 6 weeks. In the area of third grade mathematics, our top performing grade level was our eighth grade students who performed at 88% approaches, 73% meets, and 42% masters. Math, when we look at math, again, just like reading, we do have an HB3 goal for third grade math at the meets level. Our goal, our board approved goal for this year was that we attain a 48%. Right now, at the conclusion of the second 6 weeks, we are at 31%, and that is up from 17% that we had at the first six weeks marking period.
Mr. Munoz, before we go on the first slide, I apologize for going back, but on that sixth grade, the 47% approaches, is there a reason why those numbers are lower than the rest of the grade levels compared to the rest?
I had also noticed that had
47%?
the biggest gap. It had a minus 43, so I was concerned, well, third grade, because it's a House Bill 3, and
Correct.
that one is going to determine how our kids do in the future. They had a big gap of a minus 25, and then sixth grade had a minus 43, and the other one that I was concerned about was eighth grade, because I know the kids
41.
will be going to high school, and then they have to work with them to catch them up, and it's just so hard at the secondary level. So I wanted to know, I know in the past meeting when we talked about that we wanted, or I requested that the schools over in the miles get additional help. So I wanted to know what assistance was provided for those campuses out there in the miles for additional help, especially in grades third, and like Alex mentioned, the sixth and the eighth.
Yes, ma'am. Later on in the presentation, we will share the action plan that we have in place right now to support those campuses, our Tier 3 campuses, and then just the district in general. But you're right. Once we assess, we always do an in-depth analysis of our district's performance or campus performance, and then we leverage whatever resources, whatever supports we have to make sure that we help those lower performing campuses. So we do have a slide in the presentation that will address that.
And then in the math, for third, fourth, and fifth grade, I wanted to know were the campuses provided extra ESSER funds to help them to close these gaps?
When it comes to the supports that they're getting, Dr. Benavides, and specifically the ESSER 3, our campuses know that whatever support that they're asking for, resources, we're providing them. So it's when it comes to funds for tutoring, if they're asking for it, if they need it, we are providing it to them. There hasn't been we haven't placed a limit on that for them.
And that's great. I'm just concerned. I just feel that the principals and the teachers need additional support. And I know our plan looked really, really good because we had all these things that we were going to do. But if the kids aren't going to the tutoring, or if we can't find the teachers, then the kids aren't getting the help that they need. So that's why I'm very interested in what has been done to help the teachers at those, especially at those grade levels.
Yes, ma'am. I know that one of the things our principals have said that if the kids are going to school, the kids will learn, right? Because we have great lessons, great teachers, strong curriculum, a lot of supports. The one variable that they're struggling with controlling is the attendance. And we still have quite a few of our students being absent due to COVID or the flu or other illnesses. The bad weather, especially in the 7 Mile Line schools, affects our kids when it comes to them going to campuses. So that is the one variable that we are trying to correct and address. So we're working with, I know our Student Services Department is always working on looking for ways to bring these kids to school.
I'll wait for that slide where you show
Yes, ma'am.
the supports that are being provided to see if I have any other further questions.
Now, in regards to the variance that we're seeing with the performance, I know that as we prefaced at the beginning, our content coordinators are modifying the assessment to give them opportunities to practice with a more rigorous assessment. So that's why you'll see variance sometimes, because the rigor of the assessment is increasing. And also the delivery, right? We are transitioning to online testing. So that is having an effect on those kids that were used to taking it on paper and pencil. But in that particular grade level, Mr. Cantu, if you would prefer, we can prepare an in-depth presentation as to what the difference was from the first 6 weeks to the second.
I appreciate that.
Are we transitioning to online testing for all subjects, or is it just specific?
All subjects, all grade levels, Mr.
Mr. Munoz, could it be also a factor that because of the 6th grade gap, that this is the grade where most of our kids are testing English for the first time? Is that a factor?
It is. Nonetheless, for the most part, once our students, based on our dual language program, once they go into 3rd grade, they've always tested math and English, right, for the most part. More than close to 98, 99% of our students always test in English in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So the language, I'm sure, is an issue because once you get to 6th grade, the math test is, for the most part, like a reading test, right? It has a lot of word problems that are specific to the content, right? They have to understand the question. So I'm sure that does have that is a factor that plays into their performance in the 6th grade math.
During the actual testing, I know there was only a few campuses that didn't do the online, but for this second 6 weeks assessment, everyone did it online.
Correct, Dr. Davis. Last year, we had close to 80% of our students taking it online. We were one of the few districts in the region that transitioned to online testing as quickly as we did. Thanks to your support, we had the technology and the bandwidth available to our campuses. This year, our goal is to have 100%. Right? And that was one of the stipulations that House Bill 3906 implemented. Right?
But for the 6 weeks, everybody did it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, in the area of science, our top science performer for La Jolla SD was our biology EOC students. And they performed at a 91% approaches, 67% meets, and 25% masters. If you scale the score, the biology in itself is already at the A level, right? A performance level. In the area of social studies, the top performer for La Jolla SD is our U.S. History EOC students with a 78% approaches, 48% meets, and 15% masters. And these are our high school students. And when it comes to social studies, we only have 2 populations of students to test, right? That's 8th grade and our EOC students at the high school. Moving on into the individual campus performance, right? Which campuses are at or above the district average, which campuses are exceeding the district average, and which ones are the struggling ones. And when we look at this data, again, we look at what campuses need additional supports, and this is, once we analyze the data, identify those campuses, we leverage all the supports that we have in central office available to us, whether it's resources, staff, or funds, to help these campuses come up to at least the district level or exceed it. So for the second 6 weeks, our top performing campus in the area of reading was E.B. Reina Elementary. They had an 87% approaches, 59% at the meets, and 33% at the master's level. When it comes to the elementary campus math performance, our top math performer was again E.B. Reina Elementary with an 81% approaches, 58% meets, and 40% masters. In the area of science, our top science performer was E.B. Rain Elementary. They had 92% approaches, 60% meets, and 30% masters. So this campus in particular is already at the end of year goal attainment of 90, 60, 30. For our middle schools.
Before we move on
Will
to
you
our
back
middle
up?
schools, I'm going to go back to special ed. In our packet, we had 17, page 17. I know we skipped that.
I was going to bring him back to that myself.
But do you have it?
I do not, Dr. Navides, I apologize.
Okay. In that, the gaps in special ed are also concerning. How many of these special ed classrooms are without a teacher?
I don't have that information for you, but I can get it. I know that since for the last couple of years, we have struggled with when it comes to staffing our special ed. I know that as a district, you approved an initiative to incentivize the position and provide stipends. Nonetheless, it's still a position that is hard to staff. We're struggling with finding people that are properly certified for the position.
I know that last year there was some classrooms that went without a teacher all year. And so that's why I'm saying it's the middle of the year. Our special ed gaps were concerning, especially in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So in those classrooms, I was wondering if there was any classrooms without a teacher, and also our English 1, if there's any classrooms in English 1 without a certified teacher.
Good evening. Right now, Dr. Benavides, currently we have 6 vacancies in special ed across the district. 2 of them are inclusion services that we provide for inclusion teachers that we need, and the other 4 are classrooms at our elementaries. And in regards to English, we do not have any vacancies in ELA.
So the inclusion, those are elementary, right? The 2?
We have 1 at a high school and 1 at a middle school.
Oh, so not elementary. So then the 4, are they in the elementaries?
We have 3 at an elementary and 1 at a middle school.
And since we're talking about reading, what is happening with the reading teachers then?
With the reading teachers, we currently have, each elementary has 2 reading teachers, one that provides additional reading support and one that serves students with a reading dyslexia program. And currently across the district, we have 14 vacancies, but at each elementary, the elementaries do have at least 1 reading teacher.
And I'm looking at the vacancies that you're referring to, and those are pretty much vacancies that could be funded from ESSER funds, because that's the primary purpose of ESSER. And whether it is to recruit, to provide bonuses for them to sign up, I think that those efforts need to be there, because that's a lot of teachers that we don't have in place in reading. And well, now you've said special ed. I think we also have GT teachers, because your GT program is also changed.
That is correct, and I have shared with the board in previous board meetings that at the beginning of the school year we were fully staffed. However, we did expect greater than expected growth because we do have a lot of growth in our pre-K3, pre-K4 program. There is a teacher shortage, unfortunately, across not only our region but across the state and the nation. And so one of the remedies that we did to make sure that each student was provided with a appropriately certified teacher in their classroom was to move some of our GT teachers, some of our enrichment enhancement teachers and some of our reading teachers to fill the classrooms to make sure that each student has a certified teacher 100% of the day. So some of the support staff is short.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the ESSER fund is also for retention, right? You mentioned that there's a shortage of teachers throughout the state?
That is correct.
Okay.
The retention would be different than what we're talking about right now.
Well, we talked about shortage of teachers.
Right, and we're retaining the teachers that we have. So we have a need for reading teachers, a need for the GT teachers, a need for special education teachers. So when we look at the ESSER funds, do we have funds from ESSER funded for those purposes?
We have some of our staff that is currently funded through ESSER. However, we do not have any teachers funded through ESSER because of the comparability report that we have to submit to TEA. By having teachers paid out of ESSER, they would be paid out of federal funds, and that would offset our comparability report, and we would be able to submit I guess, like an evenly matched
Well,
report.
the ESSER funds can be
I
used
think,
for any.
I
can
think
be
right
used-
now we need to focus on the 6 weeks performance data. I think we're going off subject. Can we try to stick to the,
Well, this is on the
to the
subject
discussion
because it's
item,
about how do we
performance.
improve reading and how do we improve the performance of students in the reading and in the special education students. You have the same thing going on with the English emergent students.
We continue to actively look for teachers every day across the district. We have attended, UTRGV recently hosted a job fair, and we were able to find some potential applicants, but unfortunately, not everyone is appropriately certified to be in the classroom.
So if the purpose of ESSER is to help to reduce the gap, right? How is it that we fund other areas, positions in the district, maintenance, operations, others, and not necessarily the teachers that may be needed?
I know for the GT teachers, the special ed teachers, they are in a budget, so we do have funding. It is just that we cannot find the
That is correct.
special ed teachers.
We have funded for each of these positions that I stated we have vacancies for. However, we have not been able to find appropriately certified teachers to fill these positions.
So they were in our they're in our budget.
Yes, ma'am.
maybe for our next meeting, we can have a discussion item on what are we doing, more of a human resources discussion to see all these questions that we have and what we're doing, thinking outside the box, so that we can have the data to see what we can do more to attract teachers, because I know there's a teacher shortage everywhere. And I think our department has done a good job, recruiting and trying to fill the gaps. But you said it yourself, the pre-K3 program kind of also didn't help the cause, because it eventually sucked up some teachers that could have been in those areas, so that we can move teachers around. And we got to work with what we have. But maybe the next time we can do a discussion item on what we're doing to retain teachers at the district.
Yes, sir.
Well, one more point, because it goes with this. Last summer, we were talking about where we were in terms of teacher staffing. And one of the strategies that we had been brought forth to us is that anybody that left or any positions that became vacant, that those positions would not be filled. Is that what is happening with reading and special ed teachers?
No, sir. No, sir. As a cabinet, we meet after each board meeting to determine if there are any vacancies that are created after resignations or retirements, to see if those particular positions are essential to the function of the district. However, they are not teaching positions that we take into consideration. We know that all of our schools and each of our students needs an appropriately certified teacher. That's why on the website you will see a multitude of teacher vacancies posted.
And in Mr. Cantu's request, I would like for you to include for that discussion item, how many special ed instructional assistants positions are not filled. Because I know that those teachers need that extra help. And I know the positions are there. I know the budget is allocated, but they're not filled. They're not filled.
They need the help.
So I would like to see how many are special ed instructional assistant positions that are yet vacant.
We failed.
Besides our website, Miss, have you gone to, I know in the past you've said you've done, job fairs, and we're still doing?
Yes,
reaching out like that?
we're attending job fairs. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in continuation, when it comes to middle school, going back to, I think we left off in social studies, middle school social studies. Our second 6 weeks middle school's top social studies performer was Ann Richards Middle School, with an 89% approaches, 70% meets, 55% masters. Our algebra track middle school students, the top performers were Juan de Dios Salinas Middle School and Ann Richards Middle School. Both of these campuses were at 100% approaches, 100% meets, and 100% masters.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. And we saw great performances across, right, all of our middle schools. When it comes to EOC English 1, which is our high schools. Our top English 1 performer in Palmview was Palmview High School AHSP students. They were at a 68% approaches, 56% meets, 36% masters. And our top comprehensive high school was Palmview High School with 42% approaches, 25% meets, and 11% masters. English 2 campus performance. Our top English 2 performer was Palmview AHSP High School with 93% approaches, 86% meets, 71% masters. And for our comprehensive high school, our top performer was Palmview High School with 66% meets, approaches, 53 meets, and 41% masters. High school Algebra 1. Our top Algebra 1 performer was Jimmy Carter Early College High School with a 99% approaches, 90% meets, and 75% masters. And our top comprehensive high school was La Jolla High School with 89% approaches, 77% meets, and 57% masters.
That's really, really good for the comprehensive high school. Congratulations, Mr. Cano.
And again, this was the one subject area that we really do want. They want to leverage our ESSER funds because algebra, our students' performance in algebra is a gateway indicator of college success.
Yes.
So if you remember, when we received the ESSER funds, this was the area of priority that we were going to focus on. And we're reaping the benefits of the focus and the attention that you all permitted us to do. So we're seeing great gains in our algebra performance. End of course biology. Our top performer was La Jolla High School AHSP. They were at 100% approaches, 76% meets, and 22% masters. And our top comprehensive high school was La Jolla High School with 89% approaches, 61% meets, and 22% masters. In U.S. history, our top U.S. history performer was Jimmy Carter Early College High School with 89% approaches, 54% meets, and 11% masters. And our top comprehensive high school was our Juárez Lincoln High School with 83% approaches, 61% meets, and 24% masters.
Excellent for Juárez Lincoln.
So in the following slide, you do get an opportunity to compare our first 6 weeks performance in comparison to our second 6 weeks, right? To see the progress towards attainment, right? Overall, our goal that we have set for ourselves when it comes to our state accountability is for us to be at 90% approaches, 60% meets, and 30% masters. That in itself would scale up to an A rating for each school and for our district, right? So here in this slide, some points that we did want to highlight was that in comparison, 18 campuses showed double-digit gains from the first 6 weeks. 6 additional campuses showed gains greater or equal to 5 points. 32 campuses out of the 35 showed positive gains in comparison from the first to second. And then 3 campuses are already performing at the A level standard. So it allows us, this analysis allows us to identify those campuses that need support and for us to then leverage whatever resources that we have to provide them assistance.
And that's good. Just a special thank you to all the teachers and all the principals, because I know it's just the end of the second 6 weeks, and I know there was test items that were a little bit more difficult, so I know it's not comparing apples to apples. But at the same time, the days are going fast, and so we want to make sure that our kids capitalize on every learning opportunity so that we can see more gains like that.
Of course, Dr. Benavides, again, commendations to all the staff. I think that they feel that sense of urgency. They recognize that every minute matters. And they're trying to leverage as much as they can or whatever they can to leave no stone unturned to make sure our kids are successful in the state assessment. So moving on to the Domain 1 calculation accountability reset. I believe the last time that Mr. Duque presented, he mentioned that the new accountability system calls for districts to be rated through a proportional weighing, right? Meaning that the overall performance of districts will now be rated on a proportional basis in which every campus will individually provide weighted points based on the campus enrollment. Meaning that the higher the enrollment of a school, the more the campus's performance will weigh towards the district rating. So with that in mind, just by looking at enrollment, we know that for the most part, however our high schools go, so will the district, right, because of their enrollment.
And
So-
that was exactly why I was concerned about the 8th grade.
Yes,
Because we need to send them really, really strong, because if it's going to be based on the enrollment, our high schools have the largest enrollments, and so therefore, it's going to weigh heavy on them.
Correct, Dr. Benavides. And again, we want to make sure that we give them the right ingredients, right, to be able to perform well. Because again, we don't want to be playing catch-up, right? We want to be accelerated. So in this slide, I think Mr. Duca did provide you how we did during the first 6 weeks, right? This is data that was shared with you at the last board meeting. And again, the campuses with the higher enrollments will have a greater impact on our district's overall accountability rating. And one of the things that we should keep in mind, though, because of the difference, although the Domain 1 district performance was at a 69% for the first 6 weeks, due to the proportional weighing, the district score ended up being a 67, right? So it will have an effect.
When he did it the way it's going to be done.
That is correct, Dr. And you'll see the difference. You'll see the scale score that the campuses achieve based on their approaches, means, and masters in all tests, all students, all tests. And then you have the proportional weighing, right? And then the following slide is the second 6 weeks. Right, and again, the campuses with the higher enrollments will have greater impact on the district's overall accountability rating. So the second 6 weeks performance was at a 75%. So we went from a 69 to a 75, right? So we're inching up towards that goal that we have for us of the 90-60-30, which is an average of a 90. So our action plan, like I mentioned earlier on, whenever our students test, we test with a purpose. We just don't want to see how our kids are doing. We also want to assess how our district and our campuses are doing. So once we get the data, we implement our collaborative assessment protocols in which all the departments, special ed, bilingual, OSP, right, our 504 dyslexia program, our migrant, they all analyze their specific group's performance. And then they create an action plan to address it. Right? Once they identify those areas of need, those campuses of need, those grade levels of need, they create an action plan. And what they do is they redesign the curriculum and the schedules to, again, leverage every minute that they have available to them to make sure that they're teaching what the kids struggled with during the second 6 weeks, and also continue to teach what needs to be taught for the third 6 weeks. And then they also provide professional development. So if you go into our professional development website, you will see all of the courses that we're offering, the increase in course offerings to make sure that we make sure that it's not for a lack of training, right? So we train our principals, we train our assistant principals, we train our reading specialists, our special ed teachers, and our content teachers in the curriculum and in on the redesign. We also implement a campus support plan. Early on in the school year, we did come to the board and we did share the tiered supports that we have for our district. Campuses have been tiered, tier 1 being that they performed well, tier 2 that they needed additional support, and then tier 3 campuses were the ones that needed intensive interventions. So we're leveraging the expertise of our content coordinators, of our directors, to make sure that we address those variables that our principals sometimes struggle to do, right? They have the same resources, they have the same curriculum. The one variable that is different is the experience and quality of our teaching staff. So we leverage the expertise of our content coordinators to be able to support that variable. And so they provide professional development, and then they also do teacher coaching, right? They co-teach with teachers, they go to the campuses, and they're also working with students. And then we also leverage our ESSER funds, right? We provide our campuses with additional resources, funding being one of them, so they can hire more tutors. And we've also provided additional staffing. As a board, you did approve for us to hire part-time tutors. All of our campuses, I think for the most part, are getting additional staffing through part-time staff. These are retired teachers that were master teachers when they were teaching. And every campus are getting 2 additional part-time tutors that are going into the campuses and helping them out for, I think, the schedule that we currently have is up to 19 hours a week, right? So they're getting those additional 2 staff members to go and pull out students during their enrichment enhancement period. And that way they're not getting pulled out of their Tier 1 classes.
Mr. Munoz, I forgot to ask you today, but those part-time tutors, are they going specifically to Tier 3 campuses or they're being spread out?
We prioritize, Mr. Redesi, right, those Tier 3 campuses. As soon as we were hiring them, those were the campuses that we were sending them to first. And then as they became more available, we then moved on to the Tier 2 and then to the Tier 1 as well.
Is there a certain ratio that we're giving to Tier 3s and Tier 2s?
No, I think for the most part, the board approved for us to hire 2 part-time tutors per campus. But again, once we analyze the data, and if we see that campuses need more additional help, right, we'll make adjustments to be able to provide them those additional staff and supports.
Yeah, going along with what Dr. Benavides had said, I think it'd be important to place a lot of these tutors in our Tier 3 campuses.
Thank you, sir. We'll do that.
And that would be a very good idea to see how many of those, just based on the summary of all the elementary campuses, all those schools, and not 2 across the board, but maybe some of those need like 3 or 4 based on how they did. And that's the kind of differentiation that I was looking or asking for, so that I'm in agreement with that.
Yes, ma'am. So any questions or recommendations that you might have? And again, Mr. Cantu, we will come and prepare a presentation for you in regards to the changes that we're seeing from that first 6 weeks to the second 6 weeks when it came to that math performance.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz. Moving on to consent agenda, I think we're pulling out of business and finance items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We'll pull them out for discussion. Under bids, moving on to item number 8. Well, moving on to item number 8 under contracts. Consent agenda, I need a motion.
I so move.
I'll second that.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Moving on to business and finance, item number 1, approval of application for payment of engineering fees number 2 for the La Jolla ISD ESSER funds project, canopy structure phase 1. M2 Engineering. I need a motion.
We have a status
Yeah,
on
Which
this
one are you
item?
on?
on the C1.
I'll move and then we can discuss.
I have a motion, I need a second.
I'll second that.
What page?
I have a motion, a second, we're opening it up to discussion. Mr. Joe Villarreal.
Pero what page does it?
Oh, 42.
Page 42.
This is
Can you give us an update?
Okay, there's no question, you just want an update?
correct.
For now.
So for the canopies structure phase 1, this is for M2. This is just a payment application for the engineer. So far, this is the only phase that is underway. They're about 40% complete. They already excavated. They started forming, for the foundation. And they were supposed to pour concrete last week, but because of the weather, it got delayed. So they're thinking of pouring foundation next week on most of these campuses. Substantial completion is still the same, which is April of next year for this first phase, which is 14 canopies.
You said estimated completion date is April
April of next year, yes.
23.
For just the canopy or the canopies themselves?
For the canopies, yes. Foundation, canopies, the structure, everything.
And this is for the schools listed on here.
Correct.
14.
And the other schools?
The other ones, those, we actually just received the signed contract, and it was sent off to the contractor. So we will issue a notice to proceed so they can begin. And I believe it's 180, it's about 6 months for completion from when they get the notice to proceed.
Okay. Mr. Vidal, just real quick, I know that we're actually paying these companies, engineering companies, a pretty penny to oversee these projects. On our next, whenever we have items like these, I would like to see them here. In case we have any questions, we can ask them directly to see, because they're supposed to be overseeing the projects. So I think it would be fair for them to be here so that we can ask questions in case any of the board members have any questions.
That's a good idea. In the past, we used to have them. They were always present.
They're usually here, but since this was just a regular pay application, I didn't ask them to be here, but I can ask them to be here, whether it's a pay up or not.
I appreciate it. Any more discussions? I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Item number 2, approval of application for payment of engineering fees, number 1, to oversee the La Joya ISD ESSER Inclusive Playground Equipment Phase 1. Need a motion?
I so move.
I have a motion,
Second.
and you have a second. Any discussion?
Maybe just the status as well?
Yeah.
Sure. So later on the agenda, I think it's item 9, 10, and 11, you're going to see the best and final offer that was submitted by the company. It's the same company that got all 3. After we get that approved, we will work on the contracts. And once those contracts get signed, will issue a notice to proceed. And right now, as it stands, they issued 180 days for substantial completion for all 3. So we're looking at 6 months from the notice to proceed. So roughly, we're estimating about June, July of next year to be complete with all of them.
This is just phase 1, so it's like the other ones, right? It's just a group of schools.
It is phase 1, but all 3 are on the same stage. All
Okay.
3 are in the same process.
Good.
Oh, good. 'Cause I was going to say the other one, some are going to say, hey, we have our playgrounds, and the other
Yeah.
ones are going to.
So the playgrounds are all the same, but the canopies are the ones that are,
They're a little bit different
bit different.
canopies, but the playgrounds are all going to be at the same time.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Approval of application of certificate for payment of contractor fees number 5 for the La Joya ISD funds project, JFK and Tabasco Elementary Schools HVAC upgrades. I need a motion.
So move.
I have a
Second that.
motion,
I'll second that.
a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Item number 4, approval of application for payment of engineering fees number 3 to oversee the La Joya ISD ESSER funds project, HVAC project phase 2. Need a motion? Any motions?
61.
this is for the high school?
This is for to oversee the HVAC phase 2. It should be on page 61 in your binder. I think these are all the upgrades that we're doing.
Sorry,
the ESSER funds.
may I ask a question? Just because I think we moved a little, at least I didn't get to the page number I wanted to bring out. For the item on approval of application and certificate for payment of contractors fees number 5 on page 49.
Okay, we're on
That
item
one I
4.
know.
Can we go back to item
Yeah,
3?
I know that you've gone to it just to make a correction here.
Okay.
Because it says that it's to be paid from ESSER funds, but in the budget source, it has a general fund.
What do we do we move to item 4, he's asking about item 3, and it's a correction that needs to be made.
Yeah, because we have it as ESSER, but then in the source of funding, you have the
No,
general funds.
we moved on to item number 4, and he's asking to try to go back to item number 3 to make a correction on the wording.
No, just
No,
the
just the
funding.
budget source.
The budget source, the budget source. The super, you can do it, Dr. Science.
Yes.
And just so it'll be corrected.
The superintendent could do it
Which
administratively.
is the page number, Dr.
On page 49.
49, it
49.
says 199, which is the general fund, and on the top it
Okay.
says ESSER.
Yes, it should be ESSER.
Thank you, Dr. Mora. We're on item 4. I need a motion. This is for payment of engineering fees number 3 to oversee the HVAC project for phase 2. motions?
I so move.
I have a motion by Dr. Zamora,
Second.
second by Dr. Benavides. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on ranking of competitive seal proposals for La Jolla ISD ESSER HVAC improvements for Corina Peña Elementary. Need a motion?
So move.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Mr. Villarreal, can you tell me why we're doing so much HVAC improvements?
So back about a year and a half ago, we did an assessment, a thorough assessment. We did an inventory of all our HVAC equipment, district-wide, by an engineer. And at that time, we were looking at any indoor air quality issues that we had district-wide that we needed to improve with these funds, because that was the main purpose of these funds as far as my department. Which is controls, indoor air quality, and comfort level for the students. So at that time, through the assessment that was also discussed at different facilities committee meetings, we came up with I guess a general list of all the issues that we needed to address with these funds, and that's why we came up with this list, and we have over, I'll say about almost 20 campuses. And I don't have that specific list with me, but I can provide it.
I know as a district, we allocated a certain amount of ESSER funds to improve our air quality because those were things that were allowable by the state that
Yes.
we could use ESSER funds for.
And we can bring that needs assessment, maybe for a discussion item so that all board members are aware of that study that was done.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
I have a motion by Ms. Solis. I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, discussion and possible action on authority to negotiate contract with contractor offering the best value to the school district based on the published criteria on a ranking evaluation of competitive CO proposals for La Jolla ISD ESSER HVAC improvements for Corina Peña. Need a motion?
So move.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
I had a quick question. Just on the calendar days, I'm just trying to understand it. What, on the tabulation sheet, there's a big difference, right? What is that? One takes 350 days, the other one takes 2 years? Or what? 600?
Yes, yeah, there was a big discrepancy.
reading that correctly?
Yes, on price and on days. But we did get with us and the engineer, with the committee, we got with Quantum Mechanical in this case, just to make sure that they were correct on the days and on the amount, and they told us that that's what they submitted, so that's what they were gonna do.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a big discrepancy in the
Yeah.
cost.
1 year and 2
Yeah,
years.
That it's like, whoa, 2 million compared to 1 million?
And in less time.
And the budget, I believe, was 1.6 or 1.7 on this one.
That's how much we allocated?
For this particular
particular-
school, yes.
Any more questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, approval of standard form of agreement between owner and contractor for La Jolla ISD solar array maintenance and operations provider. I need a motion.
So move.
I have a motion. Need a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, approval of the TASB governance camp for La Jolla ISD school board member and the superintendent to attend Galveston, Texas on March 1st to the 4th, 2023. I need a motion.
So move.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, approval of standard form of agreement between owner and contractor for the La Jolla ISD ESSER funds, inclusive playground equipment phase 1, M2 Engineering PLLC. I need a motion. This is for phase one of the inclusive playground. I need a motion.
So move.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Okay.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Item number 10, approval of standard form of agreement between owner and contractor for La Joya ISD Esther Inclusive Playground Equipment Phase 2, Isaguirre Engineering Group, LLC. I need a motion. This is for the second phase.
So this is the same as the other?
Yes, but it's,
Yeah.
It's just the other cluster?
Yeah.
3 clusters?
I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion has been made. I need a second.
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Item number 11, approval of standard form of agreement between owner and contractor for the La Joya ISD Esther Inclusive Playground Equipment Phase 3, Hinojosa Engineering. I need a motion. This is Phase 3 of the same project of the inclusive playgrounds.
Same project, different schools?
Mhm.
So
This is,
moved.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. All those, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. We're moving on to item number E, Human Resources. We have I'm going to open it up at 7:03 for a public hearing. This public hearing is for payment in excess of contractual amount of issuance of employee retention stipend to work, stipend for work performance for La Joya ISD employees.
Yes, Mr. Board President, members of the board, and Dr. Sines, when it comes to these public hearings, there's 3 reasons for the payment that need to be stated. So as y'all know, the next 2 items are related, but this is the public hearing portion that's required by Local Government Code 180.007. So the first issue that needs to be stated is the source and the exact amount of the payment, the reason the payment is being offered, including the public purpose that will be served by making the payment, and the terms of the distribution of the payment that affect and maintain that public purpose. All three of those things are addressed in the resolution, but I'll go ahead and state them for purposes of the public hearing. So the source and the exact amount of the payment, the source is the ESSER funds, and the exact amount of the payment is $1,000, 250 with 0 cents. And this $1,000, 250 and 0 cents is for employees, all district employees. But there's a little caveat here, is that the employees who do not qualify for the ESSER stipend that was approved in the summer, they're only going to be entitled to this $1,250 and not the additional amounts that were approved back in August or September. And if the administration could clarify that a little bit more. The second portion of it, the public purpose. The public purpose for this payment is to maintain the ongoing morale in these trying times that requires the board in some way to recognize the courage and sacrifice of its employees who are and will be performing extra work and additional services in order to achieve the district's goals and the district's mission due to increases in employee workload, stress, and the possibility of contracting COVID-19. And then the terms for distribution of the payment that affect and the maintain of the public purpose is in the resolution, the funds for the stipend will come from ESSER funds, and the stipend shall be paid to these eligible employees as part of the December 2022 payroll distribution, or as close thereto as possible.
I had a question. My question was, what's the total amount? What's the total cost? Because I know it's the $1,250 for the employees, and then the other $1,250 for those that were not here last year. So what's the total cost?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Science, and the members of the public here. The number it's around $5 million. That if that were to be approved for the additional $1,250.
So $5 million?
About $5 million for all the employees.
And back in June, we did a budget amendment with $6 million that were not used. Is this the same money or this additional to those 6 million?
It's additional to that. If I may share this document with you.
Because the 6 million were reallocated for HVAC and for facilities.
Thank you.
So they're different, and so in June, you didn't know that you had these additional funds?
No, if you look at the, let me see if I can put it in camera, Dr. Benavides.
While you're doing that, I'm going to ask another question, and that is, here we are in the middle of the year, all from the summer, in fact, starting with the last spring, when you were developing the budget, I came in June. The word was that the district was experiencing financial difficulties. I have looked at the numbers from beginning in June to now, including that budget amendment that Dr. Benavides is referring to. And I'm asking myself at this point, knowing the reductions in staff, and I can show you the list of all the things that were said in the summer, from reducing teachers to closing schools to doing merging of routes. We took very serious steps to see that the funds that we had would help us go long term. Here we are in the middle of the year, and all of a sudden that changes. We were looking at a staffing allocation plan that we asked for this December because of the impact that $27 million worth of funding that we have from ESSER will have next year. When I arrived in June, I asked the question of why are we using ESSER funds to pay for staff. I have a list, and I would like for you to project it up there on the screen so that people can see who we're paying, not names, but just numbers, and to see who's affected. If you would please come up here.
Sure. I think it's a public hearing. You can go up. Yeah.
We're in the public hearing.
It's a public hearing. You can go up there and.
I can?
Yeah.
Well, then I'll present the whole packet.
On those positions that are funded, there's, and I know he's going to show it, but there's 639 employees who are being funded from ESSER funds. And I'm not going to call all of them, but I'm just going to call the numbers that were alarming to me, because there's 95 employees in the police department, and there's 290 employees in the custodial department. 86 in operations, 32 in physical plant, and 24 in facilities. And I know that this amount won't cover this many, but it would save some positions that we're probably going to have to cut.
This is my second round. Okay. I have one sharing some information right now, and I really am glad that you give me this opportunity to present from here, particularly because we do have some new board members. This is your first time here, and I find it hard to believe that on the first meeting, you're going to be making decisions that it's going to cost the district about $5 million. And that, to me, I think merits that we at least have a discussion of where we've been and the impact of this decision on future of funding here with the district. So here's what we have. We will present, this is from the budget work session that we had in June, and then what was approved. But notice here in red, we have the number of employees in the district. Just a line there. We don't have to get into the numbers. And then look at the enrollment of students in blue. And we have had a decrease from when we were close to 30,000. At one time, 29,500. We went to 24,100 students. If you multiply those times 6,000, we're looking at a large decrease in enrollment. And so when we look at a large decrease in enrollment, and our funding in the district is dependent upon the number of students that we have, not only the numbers that we have, but the average daily attendance. Now, we say our enrollment is at, what is it now, Dr. Science?
500 more than last year.
24,900.
About 24,900. But out of those 24,900, some of those students are not here full-time. They're counted as enrolled, but they're not counted here as full-time. So the total number really that we have for the purpose of ADA is less than that. And our goal really has been, when you look at what we have here and what we were wrestling with, and the board that wrestled with it all the spring of last year and the summer, was that we have a number of employees with, you see, what you see in red, you have there the non-teachers. So the non-teachers. In teachers, we pretty much stay within where we need to be because we keep good track of, I think administration does a good job, of pupil-teacher ratios. And knowing that, then pretty much with the pupil-teacher ratios, you see that the blue and the yellow are pretty close to each other. But when we look at non-teaching positions within the district, that's where we are and where TASB, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. But anyway, this is where to me, it makes a big difference. And I would hope that you could at least consider that when the numbers of students go down, the amount of monies that the district gets goes down. So, continuing.
Dr. Zamora, wait,
Yes.
before you move that page,
Yes, ma'am.
if you look at that, because that really affected me a few years ago when I wasn't sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, that's a problem that we sitting here right now inherited. Because the non-teaching, as you pointed out, the red line rose in 2013 to 2017, and our enrollment was going down since then.
Correct.
So this is a problem that we inherited.
Yes, and we have had, and I speak with other superintendents from other districts, and I know that they have been making reductions over time. With us, we have not done that. And so not only have we not done that, I think that even though the student enrollment was going down, at least through 2018,
Well, I think
we were
if you
going
look
up.
at 2017, that's when we
employees.
started going down.
Yeah, but the requirements in terms of who we pay and how much we pay, they're there.
Yeah.
All right, so then we were presented this. What happens with enrollment? Again, I said the ADA makes a big difference, average daily attendance. Last year it went down to 9,531. This year we're making a budget, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but projecting at 21,500 ADA.
Yes, sir.
Correct? So that's what we're projecting now, that we're going to have.
So
Right now,
Dr. Zamora, or Mr. Board President, I know Dr. Zamora, he's talking about the enrollment and stuff, but this public hearing is limited to the ESSER stipends and the mid, and
This is
the,
all related.
Hold on, Mr. Zamora, hold on.
and the merits behind a mid-year contract increase, right, using ESSER funds. So I get what you're saying, but if we could tighten it up a little bit, because ESSER is not dependent on ADA.
No, ESSER is not dependent on ADA, but the amounts of money that the district has available for paying our employees going forward does depend upon.
I just want to make sure we stay on the agenda items.
Let's stay on the agenda item for now.
Okay, so
Because if we start dissecting all the ESSER funds, I wish we would dissect contracts or consulting services that are also offered to people that we really don't need. And this isn't a contract, this is actually a stipend to retain employees. And you said it yourself, we're having trouble retaining. What are we doing differently?
Right.
So this is what we're doing differently as a district, being innovative and making sure we keep our best employees, and they deserve it.
gotcha.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Mr. Cantu. I think the morale right now for our employees is down. So I do agree with that that you just mentioned.
Okay, just so you'll know, and don't tell me in the spring when we're going to be budget making that nobody make you aware of it. So,
Dr. Shimoda, I think it's important to remember that our employees do a lot for our kids. We saw some of the data that we progressed in the second 6 weeks, and I think I was very impressed by what they have done. Morale is down. I know you have your family that works at the school district. I know I have my family that works at the school district, and in the classroom, they're teachers. And I know that year by year, it gets harder and harder. I taught for 8 years in the classroom, and it was hard. That was pre-COVID. After COVID, I cannot say that it has gotten easier. It's gotten much harder. And I could venture to say that they are having a harder time right now in the classroom than ever. Students have a huge, I let you talk, sir, it's my turn. Educational gaps right now are huge. If we have staff that ends up leaving to another district because they're paying more, because we're not retaining them, we're gonna have bigger gaps. And La Joya SD is at the point where we're about to make an A, correct me if I'm
We're very close to being an A-rated district.
And at this point, we want an A this next coming year.
So do I. So anyway, I'm going to tie all of this together to ESSER. That's what's coming up in funding for ESSERs. So just to make you aware, so last year we had started out with 219,000 in the budget. We ended up with 202, so we had a reduction of $16 million. This year we projected and started with a budget of 221,000 million. Right now, we only have, according to the state finances report, only 212. So we're already another 8 million below. So we're looking here at big dollars. And so just moving forward to what I had said when you told me that I could come over here, there's a lot of cost-saving measures that we've taken. But here's where ESSER funds are being used. And so here's who's being funded from ESSER right now. We have 639 positions being funded from ESSER. That's $27 million worth. In addition to that, this summer, we added $10.5 million for incentive stipends from ESSER. $12.50 paid in August, $12.50 paid now. Who's to be affected going forward? 95? And not to say that these positions would cut or anything like that, but we would have to find funding from somewhere else. When I asked the question in the summer, why are we doing this? It says because we don't have the funds. We cannot go to the fund balance because we're already depleting the fund balance. And so now we have 95 positions in the police department. You can go on down the list. Technology department, 27, library services, 27, but the big ones here, facilities, physical plant operations. In operations, the custodians, the custodial department, we have over 300 positions. So the custodians, the plant operations, here are the people that are being funded through ESSER. And so when we consider moving forward, how are we going to fund $27 million? That's my question, that we have to say, all right, this $6 million or $5 million rather that we're looking at can be used towards saving some of these positions, because they could be, or just saying that there's $5 million worth of staff going forward. Either that, or we're finding the money somewhere else where I'm saying already that the funds have been decreased. Now, the other concern that I just wanted to point out here, and this goes along with ESSER funds, and what's going on. So in 2022, from ESSER 2, here are the monies. I mean, we have every campus being provided funds. All right? We're providing funds for the purpose of closing the gap, etc. In 22-23, a lot of the funding then moves over to technology, the plant and maintenance, custodial department, police department. See what's happening? All right. Okay. Next, just because it's making a point of ESSER 3 funds, which is where we're going to be making a payment from. So in adjusted budget, last year again, for ESSER 3, here's what we paid. This year, going to campuses, 0. So why are we not providing ESSER funds, ESSER 3 for campuses this year? But we say we have money, we say that we're going to focus on students, but yet I don't see that those monies that we were providing before are there. So where are they? So they are there. I care about adults, I care about the students too. I think that we need to take a look at the school district as a whole. And so I am asking then, we saw the scores. I mean, we're focused on the scores and the top ones. You didn't take a look at, we didn't focus on the ones that were at 13%, at 15%, at 20%. We didn't. Now the question is, what are we going to do about the reading, about the GT, about the special ed, about all those teachers?
That's why we're proposing to take care of our teachers, because those are the ones that. I think right now it's a public hearing. I understand that, but I think our finance department, I would trust them with their numbers at this point, because whatever they recommend, they're qualified people, and I think we should go with what they recommend.
Okay,
so,
let me then go to JR's. Here's the information that we were presenting.
That's Mr. JR's information to present.
Yes, and so this was in ESER 3, and I was at the meetings with them. We discussed them, and they have informed us of what we have. So it was earmarked.
I don't think you should be presenting our district's information. I think it should be Mr. J.R. Flores that's standing right next to you.
Well, I have a question for Mr. Flores then.
Okay.
Let's give him the chance to present.
Mr. Board President, as well, if members of the public want to speak, we have to allow for time as well.
That's fine.
So I don't know of anybody from the public.
Anybody in the public? Okay.
Okay, so Dr. Zamora, since there's somebody else in there, I think we need to follow our.
This is my last one, sir.
Okay, but just so you kind of understand where I'm coming up with this stuff, since there's more people that want to speak, I think we need to stick with our public comment rules on the time.
I hear you, but still, go ahead, sir.
All right. So if you have this document with you guys right here, and it's illustrated here. Our district plan for the first year, for last year, 21-22, we were marked $106 million, right? Now, by the time we got the money, there were some in the time frame, we had some issues. Obviously, the money was not here. We had planned for the early start, the summer wellness as well, and those didn't happen. Also, the procurement process was in place, a new process to procurement. You had to get quotes, get all the paperwork in order for you to procure those services and goods. So at the end of year one, of 21-22, we spent $41 million. Okay, the rest of the money, which is the difference, the 65 was carried over to year two. Now, keep in mind, just like some of the items that were discussed earlier, the HVAC projects, the canopy project, play sets, all of those were carried over. So that's why you have those projects going. So in that, when this does settle in, then we have about $5.8 million unassigned at this point. Okay, so that's what where you can allow to do that if the board wishes to do that. That's going to be at your discretion. Okay. Also, you have here that year two, which is this current year, 22-23. You see that we already earmarked those things for administration and finance, which is covering our indirect costs. Okay, our CNI department, $20.2 million. That includes the lost learning. It includes all those things that are supposed to be doing, and we are conducting with addressing the learning gaps. Student services, which includes the social and emotional support. We have activities coming up that we have also the part-time tutors. We have the capturing kids cards training. HR, we have, this is the ones that the board approved back then for the retention stipend, the recruitment stipend. Okay? And operations is an additional monies. So that puts a budget for you this year at $43 million. All right, so as of November 1st, we're at $10.9 million that we have expended. Currently, my office is processing a lot of stipends for tutoring that is coming from the campuses. Also, from the student services as well, the capturing kids hard, trainings, workshops, all of those are coming in. By tomorrow, we have a stack that we need to deliver to payroll, so those are going to be taking time to process. So in my next report, you should see this number going up more and more. So that's what we're standing at this point.
Mr. Flores, and I believe I know the answer to the question, but just to make sure, when we allocated the money for instruction, we were over the 20% that was required, correct?
That's correct.
Right. So with this, there was 34 million that was earmarked, and there's 21 that's used. With this 13 unused, will we still meet the 20% that's required?
Yes, we will
Yes?
do that.
Okay.
We will meet at least 20% that the state is requiring.
Okay. And then is there a requirement for the, you know, how we had to submit a ESSER plan and we had to put all those things that we were going to do? Is there a requirement for amending the plan? What's the procedure to amend the plan?
Yeah, the E-grant application where we solicited this actual funds are subject for amendments, which are due to do one already at the middle of this grant. So it depends on the all's decision, and I will start an amendment, God willing. We're going to have to adjust and make sure that our E-grant, our 6100, 62, 63, 64, and capital outlay 6600 matches our local one. And of course, all the activities that are supposed to be in there, like you already know, we have the HVAC. Hard costs were not an issue as far as I'm concerned right now. The NOC is another important thing that we need to do, establish, which is the Network Operating Center. All those things are going to place. And it's already being seen throughout the earlier, you know, the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. For the canopies, the play sets, the HVAC projects, are those that taking place, and those are big ticket items. So you're looking at quite a bit of money there.
So you're planning to bring a budget amendment? Because I know our policy says that a trustee who votes to approve any expenditure of school funds in violation of the provision of the Education Code for a purpose of which those funds may not be spent, or in excess of an item or items appropriated in the adopted budget or a supplementary amended budget, commits an offense, and that's also in the Texas Education Code 44.052. So will you be bringing us an amendment so that we can approve the amendment? Because this is just, what we have proposed here is a resolution,
right,
but it's not an amendment. An amendment indicates where the money's coming from and where it's going. So
right.
Will you bring that to us so that
Yes,
you can?
I will work with administration and finance on that aspect.
So that you
Do
can.
we need an amendment if it's a surplus?
I'm sorry?
Do we need an amendment if it's a surplus?
Yes.
Yes.
I still have to do it on the E-grant, and it has to be approved by the.
I think at this point, I know it's a public hearing. Let's let the public talk. If they have anything to say, we can close it. And the next item is for a vote. This isn't for a vote. So if we have any questions that are directed to our staff, we can do it there and we can take a vote. But right now, let's focus on our public. If they want to say something to the board, right now is the time to do it. If not, we can move forward. I think we had one, Mr. Chavez.
3 minutes.
You have 3 minutes, Mr. Chavez. You have 3 minutes by.
Oh, I thought it was. Okay. Okay. So on November 14th, Department of Education, Dr. Miguel Carmona, U.S. Department of Education, printed out a letter, and I want to ask if you guys have seen it. Have any of you seen this letter? It talks about college and career readiness and all the things that can be done with ESSER funds. Now, the reason that I'm here today is because the students from La Joya ISD are falling behind. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to what I'm saying. They're falling behind. And I'm not saying it. It's the data that is saying it. Okay, I heard right now it's employee morale. What about the population that lives here? The living households, because there's over 102,000 people that live here in La Joya that are also tired of the morale, of seeing their kids come in last place. According to the state accountability rating, I heard right now that we're very close to an A. Well, we've been close to an A since 2017, 2018. You know, I did a study with Rio Grande, La Joya, Sharyland, Mission, PLJA, Far San Juan Alamo, and Edinburgh. and we've been coming in last place since 2017, 2018. If we were to register to go to college in 2017, 2020, we wouldn't be able to apply to go to UTRGV because we have the lowest scores in ACT. According to the data, we have 16.2. Our performance is the lowest one compared to the study. When we look at the college going rates, or when we look at TSI according to the class of 2016, we come in last place, ladies and gentlemen. We come in at 49%. Sherryland is 65%. So what are we doing with the ESSER funds? Why are we coming in last place? If we look at the college going rates, we're coming in 2017, only 48% of our students transition to post-secondary. And that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable to me, and that should be unacceptable to all educators. Yes, earlier I heard about I was hearing about the best top high school for 2022, the CCMR indicators. I was hearing about all of that. But then our students are not finishing the educational pipeline, and they have an opportunity to do so. How much time do I have, sir?
20 seconds.
40 seconds.
20.
2-0. 49% in 2017 of the students transferred to post-secondary. 49%. In 2017, only 40% of the students that graduated from Juarez Lincoln transferred to post-secondary. Where are the 60% of the kids? Where are they? So why are we using ESSER funds for these types of services when our students are in last place? So anyway, I wish I had more time, but if I welcome any of you for a conversation so we can continue this, because I have all kinds of data. Thank you.
Just to a point of order here, sir. I don't know that this is not public comment, this is a public hearing.
I understand, but generally in public hearings, we use the same rules that we use for public comment to keep order.
Well, that's not what I was told earlier. Earlier I was told that there was no 3-minute. That's what I was informed. I was informed that there was no 3 minutes.
We're good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions so I can close this public comment, public hearing? I close it at 7:33. Next on our agenda, under item 2, discussion and action to approve resolution authorizing employee retention stipend for work performance for La Joya ISD employees.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the resolution authorizing excess compensation payment to the La Joya Independent School District employees, and that the board approve a one-time employee retention stipend for work performance of $1,250. And I will reiterate that this payment is being made for the public purpose of maintaining ongoing morale in these trying times that requires that the board in some way recognize the courage and sacrifice of its employees who are and will be performing extra work and additional services in order to achieve our district's goals and the district's mission. Due to increases in employee workload, stress, the possibility of contracting COVID, the funds for this stipend will come from eligible funding sources in the district, including but not limited to surplus ESSER funds from projects not realized. This stipend shall be paid to these eligible employees as a part of the December 2022 payroll distribution, as close thereto as possible.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
I have a second.
Before we take a vote
to discussion.
I'm opening up to discussion. I just want to share this via the screen because Dr. Benavides was pointing out to the legal requirements for.
I think she already pointed them out, didn't you? She already read it to us and gave us a code.
Are you gonna?
No, I want for it to be, and I want for Ben to really tell us whether the rest.
There's a motion. I have a second.
And then we discuss.
Can we move forward?
Well, if there's a legal question as to whether the board can vote and take action, the answer is yes. I've talked to Mr. O'Hanlon about this.
No, that's not the question, sir. That's not the question. Let me just read it then as it is. If you don't want me to show it from up there. The resolution is a resolution, and I understand what it says and why it said it. I think we've established that rationale. But this is what we as board members are obliged to do. It says the effect of the adopted budget and amendment, and I think you've crossed the T's and dotted the I's here. It says, but public funds that may not be spent in any manner other than as provided for in the budget adopted by the board. The board adopted a budget
and we have it line item, right? Okay. But the board may amend a budget or adopt a supplementary emergency, which is, I think, what we're doing here. Correct?
Say that again, it's very hard to hear you.
I said that we are right now having a public hearing as it is required here.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that right now, and based on what I heard you say, Dr. Cantu, we said that it's going to come from ESSER funds and maybe other funds. So we do not know where they're coming from. And here it says that a trustee who votes to approve any expenditure of school funds in violation of the provision of the Education Code for a purpose for which those funds may not be spent or in excess of the item or items appropriated, etc., that we commit an offense. In order then for us to spend those monies, there has to be a formal budget amendment. And as Mr. Flores has said, no formal budget amendment has been brought to the board.
You need the
resolution does not constitute a budget amendment.
You need a budget amendment if the funds are not in that function.
And they are not. And they're not.
Is there $5 million in that function?
They were in June, the monies were amended, and we have a budget amendment here, I think, that reflects $6 million from instruction that were not used. And then they were put into a lot of other areas.
So boards, sir, when it comes to the budget, boards oversee function by function by function.
Correct.
Line items is administration. So as long as there's enough funds in that function to cover the amount that is being proposed, it can be done.
And
now, as far as adjusting anything later on, when it comes to line items, that can be done by the administration and brought to the board at a later time.
I would say when they tell us that they found it, because they were asked to find it, that it was not because it was dedicated for the purpose that we're looking at tonight. They found money, yes, but that does not mean that they found it because it was already funded in that manner. If it had been.
So that's a policy decision, right? But
no, it's a Texas Education Code requirement.
Mr. President, I'd like to have the floor.
As long as the money's in the function,
Mr. President,
in that function, it's okay.
I'd like to have the floor.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say a comment. I got to meet with some of our state legislatures this past week, and going into session this upcoming January, one of their priorities is teacher pay. Obviously, we talked about it right now. There's a shortage across the state. But besides that, there has not been a cost of living adjustment to any educational field in the past 18 years. 18 years. And that's been a long time without a cost of living adjustment. And I'd like to point out that employee morale does have a direct correlation to student learning. If our teachers are happy, if our instructors are happy, our principals, our custodians, our bus drivers, if everybody's happy in a good mood, I can guarantee you that we're going to have a better district.
Yep.
With that being said, Mr. President, I'd like to call for the vote.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor? All those opposed?
We want a roll call vote, and we have not gotten an answer from administration.
We got an answer from the attorney. You asked the question to
the attorney asked administration to see.
I have a motion. I have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
But what are we still in the discussion? I'm sorry.
We're either approving or we're not approving.
Okay, I do have, and I want this to be set up, my comment, to reduce in writing in the minutes, okay?
To what? To reduce?
Reduce?
In other words, to have it in the minutes, okay? Because usually we just have it a recording, so I wanted whenever, to put it in the minutes for the next agenda. Okay, so my understanding is that you found some funds for the one-time stipend, which
Our
we're good.
administration did.
Yes. So, Dr. Sines, I just want to ensure that we will be able to meet the financial needs of the students and that no money will be taken from our principals. In other words, I want money, this money is you just told us about it.
Yes.
Because in our previous meetings, I thought we were like in a very tight budget.
This is not money that has been allocated to our campuses. We are not taking any money from our campuses for this purpose.
Okay, so this money was something that was...
It was still in like reserve.
but this is not taking any money away from campuses.
Okay, I mean, I do agree that we need to take care of our staff, our employees, but why wasn't this, why didn't we know about this?
It's not that we did not know about it, it's just that we had not reallocated it in year 2. We reallocated other projects, but this amount had not been reallocated yet.
Okay, so this 5 million,
I can tell you this, the reason, it's the board and the board president that look into innovative ways and look for ways that we can improve our district.
no, and
I just came in and I
I'm
said,
good.
we're gonna do everything possible to lift employee morale. Our staff did an amazing job doing that, and I commend you for that. And at this point, I will end this. We will look at everything else. I wish our board had this enthusiasm to question contracts, to question consultings, because this isn't a contract. This is money invested to our staff. I don't know why we're having to dissect money going back to our people. Money invested in our staff and students and not in contracts is our best investment, in my opinion. Our staff and students are our true pillars and our true heroes of our community. I consider our staff and students our family. What does family do? Take care of family. And that's what we're doing right now. As long as we're here in the board, we will take care of those that invest in our kids. And I know that together, I know that together this year will be the year La Joya will be an A-rated district. And we need to be positive about it. And I will say, staff, thank you, all our staff, because last year was COVID and you all put your lives at risk. You're doing it again, and this retention stipend is to make sure that we retain the best and we have the best employees in the Texas. I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I
Motion.
abstain.
I'm gonna abstain, and
Okay.
not because I don't value each of the employees. I agree with all of my colleagues, but I feel that it would not be in the best interest of students and staff for me to take monies from instruction, monies needed to address students' learning gaps, and also monies needed to fund employee positions. I really do not want to have to see people lose their jobs in the spring. And so therefore, I'm going to abstain, but I definitely want to make it clear that I value each and every employee. I know you've got the votes, it's going to pass, and I'm happy that it's going to pass, and that all our employees are going to feel valued and I know the morale is low. We've been telling Dr. Saenz that all year round, but I would like to ask, Mr. President, that at the next board meeting, December the 14th, that Mr. Flores bring to us an amendment that shows where the monies are coming from, so that we are complying with the Texas Education Code. Even though the resolution says that we can, I think that because we are under public eye, we need to be transparent and we need to show exactly where our monies are coming from.
And I agree with that. And I think in the next board meeting, we're looking at some items that we are going to look into everything that's gone wrong in the district. And we're going to open up an investigation to see all those contracts. So we're working on it. We're getting there. It's just one step at a time.
Well,
I will call for a vote. Dr. B?
Abstain.
Abstain. Mr. Esti?
Aye.
Esmer?
In favor.
Dr. Cantu?
Aye.
Aye. As
And
well?
Aye.
And I'll abstain, and I'll also add
Abstain.
some comments, just like.
Motion passes.
I'll add some comments, like has been added already by Dr. Benavides and Ms. Hernandez, and that is that I looked at it from this standpoint. I think that we have two rights. It is right to provide stipends to our students, to our parents, to our teachers and our employees. But it is also right to protect and to make sure that our staff does not lose their jobs. I've seen what is happening to finances, and I would rather that we make sure that both are that they're taken care of. It could be, I could make a politically expedient decision. It's easier and it will benefit me It can serve me well to say, do it, but I think that I also have to be considerate of, what about those that next year, they have families, but they may not have that job. And it might be our brothers, our sisters, our relatives. What will we do?
No, and that's why we're doing it, because our staff have families, and with inflation and all that right now, imagine if 2 employees work at the district. That's a very big help. I know that the state would eventually come in. Every year is different. We got to look at it as we have it now. But like I said, motion passes. Moving on to item number F, we're going into executive session at 7:46 p.m. Oh, I need a motion to go into executive session. Sorry.
So move.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion passes.
551074.
A ver, mándalo.
Luego hice los tiempos que
We're moving into executive session in section 551.071. It is now 8:33. We're out of executive session.
Mr. President, I make the motion to approve items 1 through 5 as discussed in executive session.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Dr. Cantu. I have a second by Mr. Oresti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. It is now 8:33. Meeting is adjourned.